Crank 'em up.
What's up, Chasin Tails, folks? Back for another episode 74. Just kind of going through things going on in the hydroplane racing world. We're going to have Timmy Collins on with us a little while later.
Are we?
He was in there, but he wasn't waiting. I guess he said, I can't wait for this. But we had to talk with Bobby first. We always got to do a little prelim before we come on the show, and he was a little late. But it's okay.
I gave you the Mark Webber answer. Kyle said, you coming on? I said, I'll be there in 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
4 minutes.
And I bet you were down to the wire there.
Probably.
God, did you have him on the clock or what?
He's pretty close. He might have been a little late.
So we got Timmy Collins coming on. We're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up with the national meeting. Maybe we'll go over some rule proposals.
Yeah.
Talk about what's going on in inboard behind the scenes that not everyone gets to see, but this is the commissioner's corner over here. He gets to come in and talk a little bit about what's going on and all that good crap. Maybe he can help us with our flip-flop deal. Make sure everyone can wear flip-flops in the pits. We're a summer sport. Come on now.
Yeah. If not, I got a phone call. We're going to get them on the podcast next. That elusive insurance company. I
would love to talk to an insurance company.
I mean, we just chat. We might wind up raising the premiums. That might happen.
It's all right.
It's like kind of talking to a contractor, and next thing you know, you're way higher than what you expected because you start adding things on. And
yeah, I love it when people do that.
About this.
People are like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, we got to fix this while we're at it. And I'm just writing notes. Like, keep going.
You said trim all around, right?
Right.
Or more like you pulled the trim off in the wrong bedroom, right?
Backstory.
Kyle, you gotta fix your camera, man. Me and Bobby are centered up, and we got your head way down there.
Dude, that's my chair. That's my.
We told Kyle pull trim out of a room. Came back and he pulled it out of the wrong room.
Yeah, pulled it out of the room that was getting redone. The only room downstairs that had trim, be it that the room you guys were referring to had no trim in it.
It had some trim in it.
It had no trim in it. It was laying against the wall. It wasn't connected to the wall, dumbass. You also check your stuff before you give instructions.
Less work.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the instructions that were the problem, not the worker.
Anyway,
so we had some action this past weekend. Australia ran. We saw that elusive Mazda do some running. Didn't catch much of it. Grand Prix ran down there. I don't know. It's hard. They used to always watch their stuff, and I feel like now it's kind of fading off.
They don't live stream. They don't live stream.
They're not posting anything.
Not posting anything. They're falling back behind times. Did I see they don't get to run a final again?
Well, yeah. New Zealand.
They get run out all Sunday.
Yeah. That sucks. That
should be a good one, obviously.
All I gotta say is they need to get some referees over there. How can people just like float off the corner 10 lanes and then run into another boat?
That Boss Mobile got smoked that one heat. I don't know where they were looking.
That was a hard hit, boy.
Might be that black boat kind of blended in, but dang, it was bang.
I don't care. I don't care. You don't slide off the corner. Keep sliding. Like, there's a lane that you need to maintain, right?
Yep.
Now you
would think.
I mean, and that was going up for was that going up for the start?
Yeah, that was going up for the start.
Yeah.
I wonder how the rest of the group is.
Haggerty wouldn't make it over here with these rules.
I was wondering how they're all like, and obviously the Luptons all around the clock starts, but I wonder how like the rest of the field is liking it down there. It's got to be. It gives you something else to shoot for. I don't think I could do flag starts unless somebody said it was a very marketable tactic and we should do it. Then I'll do it. But
it's just all right. So let's go with flag starts. Say you're a little bit behind a boat. You're relying on your radio guy to see that flag when it drops to tell you to go, which there is a delay. There's already a delay there.
Yeah.
And then so if you don't see the flag drop, then it's kind of shitty concept. At least, when there's a starting line, you kind of know where the starting line is. You see your clock. So if you're late, it's on you.
Yep.
I think with the flag start, there's too many variables to throw in there where it could mess up and just.
I think there's just as many with a clock start. I mean, you got 9 boats, so you need the clocks to not malfunction, and you need the main clock to not. I don't know. I think the argument from a spectator's purpose, the flag starts are definitely better. It's easier for them to understand.
Yeah.
I think as a driver, though, there's that one, like, can you jump a flag start? Like, what's stopping you from just being early?
You can. So there's an old story of, I forget where they did it, somewhere down in Alabama. It might have been Gunnersville, where like they did flag starts back in the 5-liter days, and they went it. Nope. They black flagged. It was like, all right, we're going to line up. You're going to do it again. All the Cajun boys, they win again, jump the start. They brought them back to the beach and said, put them on the trailers. 2 times is enough for you. And they never ran that heat.
Yeah. Because if I'm in lane like 3 or 4, I'm just getting up there early and making sure I can see that flag.
Yeah.
That made me think, I mean,
at that point, if you're gonna do flag start, use lightsabers.
Yeah.
It'd be so simple.
Definitely
then everybody gets it's right there. Everybody gets to see it at the same time. Like I think
I love that thing in the skiff. I could actually knew what flag was up.
Yeah. And in theory, you could have everybody dead even at the same time.
Well, Region 6, you can go at your ACU clock now.
Yeah. No, he's just
doesn't have a green light.
Running flag stock.
Well, I'm just saying your timer will sync up with the starting line now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
which is good.
Yeah. Well, that made me think, with Region 6 going to that means there's a spare clock. Maybe they need to take that, if other regions have a spare clock laying around, maybe put that out where the majority of the spectators are, so the spectators can see a clock. So it kind of helps them visualize the start when it's coming up, and just give it another element for the fans to enjoy and to understand it better.
Yeah, good idea, Bob. I just came up with one as you were giving your good idea. That needs to be integrated with the HRL app somehow.
The clock?
That would they nice. Have the clock, so you could like pull up and hit like timing, but at least have the clock, because there's sometimes you can't, when GPs are out there, you can't really hear. Valleyfield, you're trying to look like way over to see the clock. That'd be sweet.
I like the app idea. The problem with having other clocks out there is just like, I'm pretty sure the clock that they got for Region 6 was like $10,000. So you can't really put multiple of those out.
And it's got to be synced, otherwise it's useless.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
I like the app idea is cool.
I mean, Valleyfield used to always have a clock, like they had it in 3 different ways, because I remember like you'd be going down the backstretch looking at it sideways, like, all right, cool, I see the time.
No, I'm just saying, put the clock out, because the one I'm saying, no, don't get an extra clock. They have a clock. Use the old clock, put it out for the fans, and it doesn't have to be the official clock, so no one could say, oh, this clock was off. I was doing radios. You're supposed to be in the radio corral anyway. It's just for the fans. It's not an official clock. Just something else to add to the visual effect for the fans and get them to understand the flying starts and all that crap.
Right. All right, we got Timmy in the waiting room. We want to bring him on.
Pop him in. But you don't. I don't know. HRL wouldn't go for that in the app because they won't even put the clock on their live stream counting down to 0.
Right. Yeah, too many people. Oh, I didn't jump the gun. Come on, it's the official clock. We've sat in meetings.
It doesn't.
All the time.
It doesn't matter if they have the clock there or not. I'm still going to be the armchair referee.
Right. Exactly. So shirts on sale now. Couch Kennedy shirts on sale. Let's bring Tim Collins in and see what he's got to say. There he is.
There he is. It's a pin. I don't know. I think so. It says Tim.
Says Tim.
Could be
black
Tim.
Screen.
Are you there, Tim? Yeah.
There it comes.
There we go. There he is. He was.
Am I here now, or is there a delay?
There he is.
We got you. It's probably going to be a slight delay, but we got you.
What's up, buddy?
Nothing, man. Nothing. Where's Austin? Did I miss it?
He's sick.
He
sick.
fell asleep.
Yeah.
You guys got your story straight.
We don't tell lies.
Yeah. And you got 2 guys saying 2 different things at the same time.
This is pretty smart, ain't it? All right, so we're
my
what?
My Steelers shit the bed, dude. I know. Man.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was
bad.
rough. they got wiped.
So we're what, 2-3 weeks out from the convention. What's the main topics we're focusing on? What are you guys working on here at the IRC at this level?
Yeah, I think I fly out 2 weeks from today. I think meetings start 2 weeks from tomorrow. The IRC stuff will start on Thursday. We've been having some calls and doing a lot of talk, and it's we've got a lot of emphasis on even a bunch of rule proposals, basically geared towards trying to make our events better. We went over a lot of things that have happened throughout the year with pit areas, with race sites, with referees, with whatever we can think of. So learn from all of our mistakes and try to make our events as good as they can be. That's the main focus here so far.
Is there any sort of like systematic like feedback to the IRC from race sites? Like, is there a post race form that you guys have them fill out or anything like that, or is it more just on their own initiative to kind of reach out, let you know how things went?
Yeah. As far as the race site's concerned, I think I hear about from half of them, I would say. And then at every IRC call, we get either the region, the region commissioner or somebody who was there who knows what was going on to drop all the feedback. So that's why we're aware of all the things that happen. Is we do a recap on every race on our monthly call for all the ones that happened during that month. So we got a lot of notes throughout the year.
So I just might be going off on a tangent, but I was thinking, just there's race sites left and right popping up. It is hard to find a open weekend anywhere, right? And you go to one race and it's way different than other races, just not even say the pit layout, but just how it's ran, conducted, and all that. Do you think that there should possibly be a criteria to put on a race that you need X amount of sponsorship money, X amount of, just to make races kind of step it up rather than just trying to put on a race to say they put one on?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's definite emphasis on making the events better, right? So it's hard to weigh everything, but like you said, it's good to have as many races as we can, but start stacking up, start putting a bunch in a row all over different parts of the country. It isn't going to work for anybody. So we definitely have some races that are very well funded, and we got some races that are completely kind of backyard races. So I think you got to weigh how many races we need to have, and then see if we can work together and get some of those other races. If they can't increase the sponsorship money or offer something else, then maybe we get teamed up and have one better event. It's hard to tell someone to eliminate an event. It's hard to tell someone to not keep trying to get new race sites because you never know what the next great one will be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of hard to be like, you're just a backyard event, yours doesn't matter. I mean, obviously a lot of work and a lot of heart and devotion going to putting all these races on. But at the same time, where do you draw the line to where you say that not that the race doesn't matter, but it's not beneficial to APBA inboard, to where it dilutes it, to where, someone might go to this backyard race, but not this premier event, which hurts the premier event. And that premier event is bringing in sponsors and stuff to APBA to help inboard and to grow inboard. But the backyard event's pulling teams away from it.
Yeah,
I think we might be at that point here soon with too many races, especially on the East Coast.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it's really tricky, right? So if you look at like the West Coast, they got the flat bottoms. They race in Washington, obviously, but then there's a big group that's in California, and they race. But you look at the East Coast, it kind of doesn't matter where you live. If you think you're hitting every race, you're 10,000 miles plus. That's just the facts of what we have. There's no way around it. So, to have all of our members think they're going to go to all of the races is obviously not going to happen. So if you got to pick and choose some, that's where some of these decisions come in. I know I don't try to bash any race site or any team or anybody that's trying to do what they need to do, but you get certain races that are known for this, or weather, tide issues.
Yeah.
For me, it's running back to back, right? So all these races that, you may sit in the water for long periods of times, those are the hard ones for me to attend. It's not necessarily about the money, about whether or not you're racing for tow money or events are better, but it's about efficiency for getting points.
Yep.
Now that could be why, like back in the day, I mean, I feel like when Annie did the Super Series, that was really good. It had all the premier events. You made a series within a series, and you didn't take away from those little events. You just kind of built that one up. That one had a lot of marketing power behind it. I think the other ones we've tried to do throughout the years, for one, racers can't commit to it or don't want to commit, and then you get false feedback from them. That's a problem. But also, we didn't put that extra effort and do it multiple times. I think that could be something that could be brought back, but it's really hard. Like you said in the previous episode, is how do you devalue one but value another? If we could all have a Zoom meeting with all the race sites at once, and I feel like you could get that done. Maybe someone like I always use Mays Landing as an example. They'll be like, hey, this is the way we put on the race. We love to do it. We don't care if we're a regional race. That's good with us. You'd get it in that communication, but I don't know how. With that said, how much feedback you get from race sites of if they're even willing to come to a round table and discuss like together as one, or if they're all just out here competing like racers and they're trying to be the best of the best.
Yeah. So a lot of talk about the series and stuff like that. So it's last year I wanted to put together a type of the Super Series. Couldn't end up getting it formed. Basically, you have to have something to offer, right? You said that thing was pretty well funded, which it was back in the day. Mm-hmm. It's part of it. I mean, no one's going to make money on this thing, but trying to get enough race sites to commit, and so everyone's got a little bit of peace in the game here. That was the tricky part. And then trying to get all the classes that would attend. It was tricky trying to make a series using all of the inboard classes. I'm not so sure that might be a lost cause. I tried it. I exhausted a lot of avenues there, and I don't think that there's a way to really make it happen. Like you said, the biggest problem, it's 10,000 miles at least on the East Coast. But what I think the problems is with all the other series people have put on for their classes or a couple classes, it's hurt something. Right. I think it's the opposite effect of what Bobby is talking about. I think the backyard races are the ones that suffered even more. They, we can't go race here because we got to save our boat for, whatever it is. So the series, most of the type of series I believe that's come across is hurt inboard racing as a whole. Whether or not it's helped with some race sites, but only the ones in the series, right? And it's kind of hurt the ones not in the series. So it got a couple good things in the works, and I think it's going to answer all these questions where it's not going to hurt inboard. It's got to be a win for race sites. It's got to be a win for teams, and it's got to be a win for APBA.
So are we talking about split in the country? That's smart move. I agree with that.
It's either that or we're finally allowed to wear flip-flops at a boat race.
I heard this flip-flops crap.
We got agendas.
Yeah, he ain't got enough problems now. You walk around. No one wants to look at your feet.
Definitely not.
You don't have to look at them. It doesn't matter if I'm wearing shoes or flip-flops. Just don't look at them.
Look at what's it, Mad Max Messine or something like that in the drag racing. She'd be backing up that funny car in high heels. There ain't no way our insurance company would allow that. They'd be like, no high heels.
Trying to wear high heels, probably.
Bobby would.
Right, what would happen?
Hey, I do got a funny statistic. Ever since that boat changed to the wild one, shirt you're wearing, it's never won a final. You must have got it on discount.
Is it because of Brandon? Because Brandon's won them all after they changed?
That, and technically in the past year, they haven't ran a final at all.
Yeah, we haven't made many.
Due to wind, rain, oceans. So anyway, we're going to someone did ask, Lynn Chapman did ask, what's going on with the Pro Light series?
Yeah, so that series has been kind of off for a couple of years, but it's one of the main things in the works to bring back in a different way. I said like a month ago we were close to announcing, and we're super close to announcing what's going on with it. But super close isn't quite ready yet. But there's going to be something, at least
You're
along
allowed
that
to
route.
announce it here. We don't tell truth.
This is where we'll announce it. It's something exciting. It should be really good. Like I said, it checks all my boxes, right? It's something that'll help race sites. It'll help H1. It'll help the classes, and it won't hurt inboard racing as a whole. I think I got it all figured out, but we're pretty close. We need a couple more commitments from a couple things.
There you go.
Is there anything else you guys been working on, or is that about it? Whatever you just talked about.
Yeah. So specifically, I'll get you guys' thoughts about this one. There's a rule proposal into. You keep talking about cost, and I don't know a lot of the particulars, but with some of our races and the lower boat counts, they're talking about there's a rule proposal in to make basically a 2-day race into a 1-day event. So there's good and bad with everything, right? But I mean, if you guys wanted to go race in Maryland, what do you think about trying to race 4 times in 1 day?
I think we could do it, but it'd be tough.
It's definitely tough.
The only way you can do it is eliminate classes and do the combined classes. So basically we'll take say Edgewood, for instance. Last year you had skiffs. I tested National Mod. You had a couple Y boats. Like if you combine Y and S, boom, E, and then skiffs. You have 3 heats. You're going to have to take a break halfway through the day. That'll fill the vendors up, and then you re-go. But if we have 10, 12 qualifiers, it's never going to happen. So
yeah, you're not getting 40 heats in.
We just got to stop wasting time in the morning.
Look, I love boat racing. I love boat racing with my whole heart, everything, right? But I didn't stay in boat racing this long just to race and drive a boat. I stayed in boat racing because I like hanging out with the people after the race. I love Saturday night, everyone getting together, going out to dinner. That to me is boat racing, even though it's not boat racing, it's hanging out. But it's a 1-day thing where you race, pack up, and leave. That just kills it for me.
Nobody said you had to leave that night, though.
Or
I don't think many people are leaving that night.
To me, that's
people are staying and leaving Sunday.
How do you know, though? How do you know?
Right.
I mean,
the race site's got to do a little bit more to keep you there, like a concert Saturday night and then send you home Sunday or something. You can't. I don't think any race site can viable.
Do you think with how many backyard races we have, that if they have a 1-day race that they're going to put on a concert?
Those ones aren't, but I also
the most minimum shit that they could possibly do if they're having a 1-day race.
But I think the logic here is like you yourself pointed out, this is going to apply to the backyard races. This is not going to apply to a Decatur or a full boat count Hampton. It's not even practical at those races. There's no way we could run the summer nationals in 1 day at Decatur, the whole weekend. It's not happening.
Or the bigger
but
venues,
a Maze Landing, it could happen. Now that's a race where I've never been, but I'm not aware of some massive pit party or massive gathering that takes place that you're necessarily.
There was one year.
There
was
one
year,
but there ain't no more. Is the point?
I mean, I don't know. I know there used to be a good Maze Landing party.
They all used to have these big parties, but now they don't. Everybody gets done racing and they go back to their hotel or they go to a restaurant. So I get the point, but I think at the races where it's applicable, the idea of what we're threatening or what we may miss out on already doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And it is
I
more
don't know.
practical for that race.
I think it's a catch-22. There might be some benefits, but I think you're going to have more.
And again, I think the rule was to give races the option, right? It's no mandate. It's not every race is running this way, right?
So what if there's two races on the same day? Do you finish your 4 on Saturday and head to the other race on Sunday? And then you get 6 heats in the weekend. That's another issue you have.
Yeah.
But if we go to a one-day
Counts
format,
for 2 race weekends, though.
if you go to the one final weekend format, that kind of nixes that ideal because you would lose 2 qualifiers in that second race if you ever wanted to play that game.
Yeah.
So
Kelly Jones said a
I'm
wind delay would ruin your one-day race, but I think that would be an option that you just switch it to the next day.
Well, so again, I think I'm right in line with you guys, so that's good. But they bring it up as a cost thing, especially cranes. I know cranes across the country are getting out of control, but they talk about the cost and whether or not it might be the difference in having a race or not if they could only do it for one day. So there would be, in that situation, there would be no backup plan, right? So,
Right.
I mean, there's pros and cons, but like I say a million times, be careful about rules in the rule book, right? A lot of these things, like we said, are real good suggestions, but we don't want to make them rules.
Mhm.
I don't want to say you can't, to close the door on it. I don't think it could ever become the normal, but maybe having something to have it as an option to try out is fine. But
Yeah.
again, if you got the low boat count, then the only answer is to attract boats from other regions, and
Exactly.
I don't know how you can do that.
That's why-
Yeah, so basically,
That's why I
if
think you're
you
good.
do this one, like a Saturday only event, you're essentially considering it a regional event
Yeah.
because nobody's
Yeah.
going to travel clear from
That's
Michigan
that's
down
where I
to
think it's like
Jersey
it
for a
being
one-day event.
I think it being an option's fair because there's obviously the races that are okay with that. They're like 20 boats is all we really are shooting for. And I think the reality is the arguments we would make to that is they've already accepted that fate. They're not necessarily looking for any more or really committed to any better. Better in quotes, to them that's good enough. They don't want what we see as better. They might not necessarily see it that way.
But all right, let's play devil's advocate. If you can put on a cheap race like this, do one day, will this allow more race sites to pop up that are just low budget funded, wanting the racers to pay for everything, and you race
Will
for
the
one
race?
day? Just
How's
to
that
have
going to
do
work
it?
if the racers don't want that? And that's not. There's no way that's what the majority of.
I don't know.
racers want.
Look at all the backyard races you go to right now when the racers pay for everything.
Maybe a quarter of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot.
Maybe a quarter of them.
Yeah, it's all tricky. But like you said, a good suggestion too. I mean, running all the heats for all the classes. So the suggestion, if this were to try out someday, if somebody wanted to do this, your suggestion would be, well, you've got to start right away. Any of the classes that have less than 4 or 5 boats, you got to combine them. But put heats out there with 8 boats in them, obviously.
Hey, we got a framework for that.
Yeah, we got that should get passed. I don't see no reason why it won't.
No, I'm sure you don't.
Yeah,
But
we haven't even pushed it that hard. That's how confident we are.
To your point, Bob, about the reason you're in racing, I think that's probably the majority opinion. I don't even think probably. I think we can all agree that most people feel that way. So if multiple race sites choose to go from, let's say a Decatur decides, hey, we just went Easterns Nationals next year. We're doing a one day. We're going to become a regional event. I'm guessing nobody from the West Coast is coming. And you've now just killed your very good event. Like, I don't see events that have the infrastructure and are committed to trying to grow and be bigger, or at least maintain a level of success that they have. There's nobody that's going to look at that and say, if we can get the money, this is a better option.
Yeah, it just pretty much goes against everything that I stand for and been talking about. I want races to build their event up, not break them down.
I would tend to agree. If you are struggling to afford cranes for 2 days, you probably should not have a race. That's my stance. I don't know. I'm not going to say that's the way it should be, but I personally, if you're trying to throw a race and you are barely getting by to afford cranes for a second day, you probably should not have an event.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and then we specifically, the rule proposal, we want to specifically trying to stop. We didn't want to make this thing turn into a 3 or 4 day event, 3 or 4 days of racing in 2. So this is limited to just a 1 day thing. So, I mean, I don't know. People know their races better than we do, but again, it's not something we want to close the door on. But I don't think you can grow something like that.
Are you guys open to in the future, like granting? I don't know how the bylaws work on this, but is there maybe room to grant a particular race that presents a actual plan, like a one-time exemption to try and run that type of event?
Probably not.
No,
probably not.
Or I guess could you maybe do special event and it just doesn't count for points? Again, I don't know how that shit.
I mean, couldn't you just say we're trying it? I mean, what is there against it? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at that point, from the points perspective, they're still only going to get 2 Pete's worth of points that day.
Yeah, so I would expect the rule to pass. Again, I don't even vote, right? But I think I would probably expect that rule to pass, just so it could be an option if everything came down to it. But we'll see what.
I think going to the one final per weekend, and you get 4 heats. I don't know how it's worded in the rule book that we have to run a qualifier final, and how it changes when you do if you do a 1 final per weekend event. Does it really say like qualifier 1 and 2 have to be Saturday? Like it kind of, if you go to that, it eliminates all the issues we have now, where if something gets blown out Saturday, well, Sunday we have to finish yesterday's before we start today's, instead of worrying about the classes that have good boat count and just keep their heats going. All that kind of cleans itself up when you change that format as well, I think.
Yeah. Again, I'm a fan of a 1 final format, but again, I mean that it has to be run over 2 days, right? And again, I mean you got to be able to work on your boat. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. So, but yeah, the 1 day
if you got format, a Honda, you just run.
Less some sensor craps out, and then you can't even.
That's what the spare box is for.
Right, we can't handle those things. We're not smart enough for that.
So I do like the option for that. That rule is we've seen before where races kind of fall off their pedestal in a way. Hampton, for example, for whatever the reasons are, they've struggled. And maybe there is an example where in order for a race to stick around 1 more year, and it's like if they can get 1 more year and they can probably build from that 1 day idea, I think it provides a relief option.
Yeah, I mean we try to go over everything, right? I mean we still have problems. I know you mentioned Hampton. Well, changing dates and what people are doing.
Yeah,
we're not doing ourselves any favors with some of this scheduling, right? We obviously can't stop HRL from doing what they want to do, and putting a race.
We can knock them pretty hard for it.
Yeah, we went on a rant about Hampton last week. So, do you have any info onto why they decided to do that? Because we're just speculating.
I have none, right? I mean, I know they wanted to get out of late September, right? It's like 3 out of 4 years were pretty bad.
Yep.
August 1st, I know that I've given plenty of heads up that's probably not the first weekend in August. Plenty of heads up. It's probably not the best way to go. I don't see how you're not going to get any outside stuff. And again, it's hard sometimes to understand, and sometimes it shouldn't make a difference. But like I said, even an unlimited race in Washington will have some type of effect on the East Coast races. Yep. So everything has to be considered. And when you've got H1 and you've got HRL and you want to attract some of those boats or teams affiliated with those, you got to pay more attention to the schedule.
Yeah, even this one, you're losing a ton of diehard APBA guys. Like, I mean, you yourself, you'll be out west. A lot of people will be in Tonawanda that would probably come to that race. I truly, we talked last week. I have no clue who's going to that race now. Skiffs, maybe some flat bottoms. Like, it's going to be a flat bottom race.
You're not going to have
just to be up front. I don't know how they have a legal hydroplane heat. I'm not sure in any class.
I don't think they will.
But,
right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So
unless you guys are changing the rule to go to like 1 boat as a legal heat.
Well, that's another one.
Let's just keep dumbing down everything.
So I thought we're kind of on a trend of making things easier and kind of dumbing things down. It's just partly why I wanted to run for this position years ago when I did, right? So I'm all about competition and everything else, right? So it does suck if you do nothing wrong, go to races, come Sunday, half of your field's gone for one reason or another, and you don't get points even though you're there and did nothing wrong, right? So,
Yep.
There is another proposal to address that. I don't know if you guys remember.
Fix that. Did you?
Well, yeah.
One final weekend fixes that. You just wind up being combined with a different class.
Well, if you're combined with classes for one set of points, right? But if you guys probably don't remember, maybe you do, but like 7 years ago or something, they tried to bring up the participation point things, but people hate that word. I mean, I do too, I guess, but
yeah.
So we tried to make it, like a 50-point thing for showing up, right? To encourage people for showing up. But I think everybody kind of forgot about that. So there's a new proposal coming in to kind of award half the points that you would get, right? It's another one of these things. It's something I don't relate to personally, because if I race, my main goal is national high points. And so it's kind of all or nothing with me, right? So I'm either racing to win or, go out in a blaze of glory, right? But it makes a difference, right? And there's some really good points about some people, going to a bunch of races and looking up and they're in 6th or 7th place when, given some of these points that is not their fault, now they're in the top 5. And that does make a difference to a lot of people. So there is a proposal about rewarding half.
Sorry, go ahead, Timmy. My bad.
No, you're good.
I think it's especially helpful for new participants. People that maybe when they get in, they're not really thinking about points. But every year you can't race on either coast without getting a wind day or a rain day or whatever the case may be, or you just have bad luck. I mean, Austin and I tried running 16 heats in like a pack on the first year and finished 0. It would have been nice to get some credit for showing up 14-hour drive both ways, but so I think especially in the newer participants, and if we're looking to add people to this sport and entice people to join, in some ways it is a cushion for new people or for people with lower budget or are still in the learning process.
Yeah, so regardless of what major changes come this year, next year, or the future, right, we still have to, I put a big emphasis on, every rule that we pass, right, it can't, it's not like Democrat, Republican. You can't alienate or piss off half of the people, right? We don't have the luxury of doing that. So
we do.
Like this is kind of a good proposal in my mind, because it doesn't affect the boats running for national high points, because those half of points, they rarely come into play. But it does affect the boats that race, half the time. So maybe this is one of those rules that is kind of, there doesn't seem to be a loss or a lose situation. It's kind of a win-win here, I think, for helping support and then not affecting the teams that are really going at it.
Yeah, nice. I agree with that.
So
how close are we to a potential? Like, have you talked to people about going to one final weekend? Do you think we could?
Yeah, we've talked a lot about it. Yeah, we've talked a lot about it, right? But the problem is everything has to be restructured, right? The whole point system, the whole everything, and then the main pushback, it's not what I thought originally. The main thing I'm hearing is how much it's going to affect the more local races. Because if we keep the same type of system, right? I mean, again, if you went to a 1-day format, it's easy to say, okay, well, you got to take your best 15 days of racing now, so you cut that in half, right? So now it's 7 weekends, something like that. So the biggest question has come up to, well, if you're racing 7 weekends and then, that's all that counts, right? That's a problem. And then if you have to make up a day, instead of making up 1 day, you're making up a weekend. So if you got a couple bad ones, all of a sudden you're traveling very far to replace a couple days of racing. So I didn't really think about it that way, but
how many people need points would go to a race and just race 1 day that they need and turn around and go home and not race the next day?
Well, no, I mean, but like for instance, whatever the case is, if you can score 500 points in a weekend, right, and I have a DNF or two, and I score 200, right, that's not a good weekend, right?
Takes
so
you a
I would
lot
have
longer
to
to
go
make
Yeah,
to
up
another
for
race.
it.
it's not as much the deciding after fact to go run. It's that right now you can drop half of a weekend. You can have a good Saturday, a bad Sunday, and keep your Sunday. But in the full weekend format, if you DNF your first seat Saturday, chances are that's a shit weekend regardless. I understand that point. The only thing I'll say to the first part, and again, it's not necessarily like pushing back on you, but for whoever's got that stance is if we're only running 7 weekends and that's all that counts, that's no different than right now. Right now, you get 7.5 weekends worth of points. So really, if you choose, you're going to run 7.5 or 8 and call it a day. If you have the luck, it would still be the same, at least in that context.
And there's
But
not
I do
many
understand the dropping
Yes, and
full weekends
but like-
versus half weekends.
right, maybe I didn't do very good explaining it, but like as of right now, right, if I go to, whatever, if I go to Decatur and something happens on Sunday, I lose a day of points. If I go to Salina, something happens, I lose another day of points. Well, I don't have to go to 2 more weekends to make that up. I got to go to 1. So
Yeah.
if you
Well,
lose a
I mean,
day
we
in
are-
a 2-day format, you can lose twice as many.
It puts more of a premium on a full weekend's worth of points or a consistent
And that's
weekend's
another-
worth of points.
And that's another thing that came up, and I think I probably brought that up in some of our discussions with IRC people. But the like in this format, how much emphasis or any do you put on like nationals as far as points? Because you make some of these races worth more points. Well, that's almost make or break for your season, because now you put a lot of emphasis on 1 or 2 events, and there's debate whether that's
I don't like
or bad.
I don't like them being bonus points as is. I think the prestige of winning the Nationals should mean everything there. The coolest trophy you get all year, stuff like that. The points thing is, like you said, it can ruin your season, or it can make your season. I'm going to hit the Westerns, Easterns, Nationals, and then I can do mediocre the rest of the year. Like it, I think keep them all the same at this point.
I would almost rather that, or if you're going to do bonus points, the points for the weekend count the same, but if you win, you get a very small, in comparison to a heat's worth of points, bonus. That might be the difference in the end. It also might not be. But that's, again, the emphasis is on the prestige of winning the U.S. National, not your 43 extra points or 50 or whatever it is.
Yeah, so those are particulars to iron out, I think. But the biggest problem I hear is it's going to affect, especially like at the end of the season, or the beginning of the season. I'm sure you're getting all the races, right? So the middle of the season or the end of the season, people think it'll have a much more negative impact, picking and choosing the races if you have a 1-day format. And I don't know if that's true or not. That's just what I'm hearing.
I would argue that it's no different than now, because I'll be flat out honest with you. We didn't go to Lakeland because we didn't need to. And I know that there are other cases of that over the last 5 years where people are like, we do not need to. I think we could have gone to Lakeland, and the max points we could have added to our overall total was like 15. And at that point, after Saturday and Caesars Creek, 15 was already was nowhere near enough for anybody to catch us. I think that already exists.
Yeah, but is that good?
I don't know.
That
I think it's bad, but I think that is an inherent nature of running an 11 race series and not having 11 races worth of points. If you don't have a full series, if not every race, every point matters, that's just inherently going to be the case.
We also have to keep in mind that not everyone goes for high points. There might be a couple in each class over the whole United States that actually goes for high points.
Yeah, there's always a couple in every class just by default, right? So it doesn't matter if it's 5, if you're close to 3,000 points or 1,000 points, like the guys who are up there, they're gonna be into it, right? And that changes, but yeah, we need as much participation at every race site we can get. That's also in the back of everyone's mind is, okay, does this promote showing up? Because that's the biggest problem we have right now. It'd be nice to get a lot of new people into the sport. The bigger problem we have, and again, for the 3rd straight years, the participation numbers, the percentage of races people go to has gone up 2 years in a row.
Nice.
I don't have the spreadsheet here to show you.
I mean, I saw that just
You have it available.
being there this year. You could tell that, especially in our class, it felt like the guys that raced more, they were at more races this year.
Yeah, it's kind of like the competition brings competition, and it brings excitement, and it brings everyone together. I mean, I think in the whole country, right, there was only 8 boats that got 15 days of racing in, and the 1 liters had 4 of them, because it's all about camaraderie and it's all about competitiveness. And if everyone's close and fighting for something, they keep going, right?
That's why I really hope we're able in inboard to build something. And I know some people don't like this, but I think it's reality. The classes where you will first see the improvements in the attendance, the new participants, the level of participation at each event is that 2.5 and 350 class, where if we give them a reason to show up, they'll be there. You saw it in HRL with 2.5 and 350. It's not even necessarily a prestige thing. To your point, to me, it's the camaraderie. It's this closed circuit competition, but we all know each other, and it's a lifestyle. We're gonna go up here to, for example, the HRL gala in a couple days, and we're gonna spend basically 48 hours recapping our season and a million different conversations. That's why we all do it.
Yeah. I was looking at your comments again a little bit, and some of the things that people were asking, right? Asking about points. Well, like any experimental boats, obviously none of that would change. But there was also something else. I want to backtrack real quick. They asked about the 5-liter HRL changes. Well, APBA is having no part of changing the 5-liter engine rules. So I know we can put that out there pretty confident. So yeah, these the stuff they have going on with their heads, it's tricky, man. And they're now more modified than our national modified, and that's not the direction that we need or want. So they'll be.
Yep. Yeah, they let that get away from them, and that's sad, because there are guys that work hard on their engines, and when you just let a boat or a few boats just run away with whatever they want to do to their heads, and then decide we're going to make it legal, that's fine, good job, guys. That's kind of not what racing should be all about, and it kind of just ruins it for a lot of people. I wish I didn't do that, and I commend you guys for sticking to it and not wanting to change that to go with what they wanted to go with.
Yeah, so I've kind of always thought, even though I race a 1-liter, I think the most important hydroplane classes are always going to be 5-liter, 2.5 stock, and 1.5 stock, right? The beginner class, obviously, but they had stock in the name for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Engines aren't supposed to get out of control in price.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you want to compete, now you have to modify all of your engines. You're starting over again.
Well,
So
the
now
350
every team's
engine
gotta
is
do that.
already more expensive than our GP engine. That's a problem.
Yeah, so that's in the works now. If anyone that didn't know, we are building an LS engine. I know we talked about it. We are building an LS engine. Blockhead Machine's building it. Parts have been ordered and it's in motion. And
Nice.
Brandon Cushing will run it. You guys had him on the podcast before, but he's got some updates of his boat. They're putting a ton of work into that thing.
Yeah.
But
Looks good.
It.
The paint job
good.
looks good.
I would like to say thank you to Brandon Cushing, because we asked for people to post updates of what they have going on in the garage, and they actually did it, and they encouraged more people to do it. So I just want to say thank you to him and his team.
Yeah, dude, him and Scott Liddycoat are the two that really carry the weight with that stuff, man. I wish we would get more people to join on board. How about Scott and them rallying the neighborhood to flip the boat by hand the other day? That's pretty fun.
We could ask Timmy, but we won't get anything until the week before
till April.
I just got a picture of my boat. The cowling's off and the deck hatch covers are off. So anyone says J. Michael don't work on the boat.
So that means it's out at Strong Racing.
Yeah, it's sitting right next to the Unlimited in Seattle, so it's getting worked on because I'm not there.
There you go.
That's great. But yeah, so that's cool. So you guys are making changes to the LS engine, right?
Well, here's what we're doing. We're building it to the rule. I was shocked last year, to be honest with you, when it passed. Right? I didn't have a feeling either way, but they passed it, and there was a lot of research done. Don't get me wrong, but they passed it, And then we started hearing a lot of different things from people, which you hear every time. Half the people are full of crap, to be honest with you, but I can make this engine. It's going to have 500 horsepower. It's going to have this. Well, what we do know is that we can build this engine for almost half the price of what people are paying for the 350. So we do know that. So we're going to build it. We're going to build it as good as we can per the rules. It's going to go to the dyno, right with Justin Weymouth, Jeff Bernard's boat, or Corey Peabody's engine. It's going to go same day, same dyno as the 350 that are brand new. And if these power numbers are close, there you have it. We just built the engine for half the price. We'll race all year with it. People can see what's going to happen. Maybe it even gets in another boat. But the point is, we can't do anything about the cost of travel. We can't do anything about the cost of boats. But we can control our engine rules, and we can control how these costs skyrocket. So I think this is exactly how we need to handle experimental engines and stuff in the future. And again, the Honda was already set, but it fits the same criteria. You get longevity, and it ultimately is going to be way more efficient and cheaper than what we're currently doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the goal of this LS. And again, if we come in and if we can't get the power, because again, this engine's got to be able to win races. If it's not able to win races, then it's not coming alive as the future. So it's got to be able to compete and win races. If it comes in underpowered, may go experimental, try to figure out the most cost-effective way to get the power up, because we can get this engine out the door for about 10, 12 grand. That's a big plus in the 5-liter community.
Mm-hmm. That'll help people with the cost of their engines, and could possibly be enticing to someone wanting to get in the class because the engines are way, way more affordable. And that's awesome. That's the type of stuff I like to hear. It's a step in the right direction. Not knocking the person who runs the LS out there right now, but let's be honest. When you put, like, you wouldn't want to see a Honda in a 1992 wooden boat go run to see if you wanted to bring it into APBA or not. You want to see this LS. You want to see it in a competitive, current, up-to-date, modern hull, and that's what's going to happen. So that'll be it's going to be interesting. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's going to be good.
Again, it solves the problems. The way that we used to do things, it doesn't work. It doesn't encourage experimenting. It doesn't. You got to work with. Everyone's got to work together, right? So I remember back, Willard Wilson would be trying different things. Well, he would provide information, but no one else could drive the boat. They would go around and he'd run on the outside. He'd run around in fourth, and you knew the boat was faster than what it was.
Yeah.
So it's like either the people don't know the potential, or they just don't trust what people are doing. So it's like, take it all out of the equation. We're going to have the dyno numbers, same dyno, same day, right? That's the whole thing. You hear dyno numbers all across the country. They mean nothing to me unless they're done at the same time. So we're going to have that. You're going to have a season. It's going to be in a competitive boat. And we're going to see everything that happens. We're going to answer all the questions, and it'll be 100% open. Anything that we're doing, there's no secret whatsoever. And awesome. All data will show whatever it shows, and then we go from there.
There we go. Someone asked in the chat, is it the LS 5.3?
Yeah. So it is. And then,
I just went and looked at the rule. It's LS LM7 5.3.
Mm-hmm. And then they said something about the blocks being hard to get. They seem readily available all over the place. What we have a current problem is you can't get a block for the 350. Well, apparently they're on national back order. So
and once you get into that LS family and you get out of the 350, the old stuff, like once you have it all set, now you can go to their next generation and play with tunes and detune them if we have to. I mean, I think they did all that hard work of figuring out the oil pans and all that stuff that has to be done first, the couplings, all that. And I think now it's good. The greatest thing about going to the future is now we have ECU companies that'll probably back the sport. it's something unique they've never seen before. I know link management's all about it. They're just getting closer and closer to pulling the trigger. So, I mean, if the LS goes through and now they have 2 different hydroplanes that can have their ECUs, they'd probably be a partner of the sport.
I think that's the closest you're going to get to like a factory sponsorship or an industry sponsorship, because it's really the only thing we do that's being used for what it's meant for.
Yep.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
a
like
race
that you
pack,
brought up
but-
ECU. That's got the last thing that I know I wanted to talk about that people may not know what's going on. It'll be a proposal made by me. But last year and this
Are
year,
you a
there's all
registered
kinds of
owner?
talk about protesting and everything else in this throughout the country, right? So there's a protest rule in there, and it's there for a reason. And so there's been a lot of talk about it and all the strain that it can cause on classes and officials and inspectors. But what we want to make sure that we do here is ultra competitive, ultra fair racing. So I'm putting in a proposal to deter cheating, right? And what I would like to do with this is, because you can get a 30-day suspension and stuff, but I want to put the hard stance out there that if you're running a 350 and you've got illegal heads, you're running a 2.5 stock and your tune isn't the correct tune in your Honda, this is blatant cheating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to compete in a 5-liter with someone that's got heads that are different than mine. I wouldn't want to compete in a 2.5 stock and people are messing with their tunes, right? So put a hard stance on this and hopefully stop any problems before it starts. But we're going to be this will go right to a committee. Anything found illegal will go right to the committee. And the committee will be me and a small couple of people. But we're going to put it out there right away that we're going to have a little moving scale of how bad this punishment should be. So we're going to allow punishment that's going to be like up to a year suspension and confiscation of parts. So I think that we don't want any crap happening at our races. I don't care if it's boats from HRL. I don't care if it's from anyone here. I don't care. If you're blatantly cheating, your carb spacer is measured slightly too high. Okay, you're not going to get suspended for a year. But, you show up with a tune that don't match. You show up with some altered heads in a 5-liter. We're going to bring the hammer down.
What about some leaded fuel in a 5-liter?
Yeah, so a fuel is different. That would be the same thing. The same question was brought up, right? Not quite like that, but it was brought up. It's like, well, what do you do about illegal fuel? So my thoughts on illegal fuel are, hey, you're running pump gas and it just doesn't pass the Digitron, but you clearly didn't do anything wrong. Well, hey, it's your fault for not checking it in the morning, first of all. And then second of all, well, you'll get your penalty. But if you tell me you're running C12 and you bring me a jug and that fuel's red, we got a problem, right?
Yeah.
So there'll be a difference, and somebody blatantly cheating is gonna get the hammer thrown down on them because there is no room for cheating, and that's part of the draw. All summer long, I hear about boats, and they want the fairness. They want to know that they'll be inspected. They want these things. People want it. And
Jimmy Stewart asked, does this mean every weekend engine inspections in all classes? I mean, are we going to ramp up inspections, or are we going to, because when you just leave it to title races, I guarantee you there's a lot of cheating during the season that's not title races.
Yeah, so there might be, but
yeah,
if you're cheating, there's going to be some real ramifications here. This is where the protest is still in the rule book, right? So we don't want problems. And again, we heard about 20 protests in the last 2 years. Only one of them ever happened. And that's the first protest that I know of. And since I've been involved in the IRC, that's the only protest we've ever had. So I don't want to jump the gun in thinking we have a major problem, because I don't think we do. But there's talk about raising the fee of a protest. So there's a couple things in the work, but we have no desire to start ripping boats apart because we simply don't have the manpower to do it. But we certainly will have the manpower at our title events. And we are going to make sure that anybody doing that. And then the protest, you can file a protest per the rule book. That's not going to change.
What about, if it's not a title event, just trying to keep people honest? What about doing random fuel checks and then maybe random carburetor checks and stuff like that? Random ECU checks, even though
I think you should do at the very least for the Honda what HRL does. I have to deliver my 2 log files off my ECU at the end of each day for the inspector to review, and then go pick back up at his tent in the morning my flash drive. Essentially, it is a flash drive, and take it back, and then same thing on Sunday.
So I
think it's just to try to keep people honest,
Right. So in that scenario, I think it's all or nothing, right? I mean, we cannot get in the business of picking and choosing who we're testing.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. I see what you mean. Yeah, I think the HRL just be like, that's the only ECU engine they use.
Want to do a fuel check? Check everybody. You want to do an ECU?
They do that when it comes to fuel and weight. It's not discriminate on classes. They go to everybody. Just the Honda, be it that there was that controversy, they wanted to take a pretty firm stance on it and make sure that people are dropping off log files and stuff.
Or even fuel. I mean, you test fuel all you want. You don't really know if that's running in the boat, right? You get that boat back on the trailer and you take the line off carburetor, or you take a line off that goes directly to the engine, then you know what fuel is in it.
Yeah, that's what we had to do it multiple times this year. There was no debating. It was nice.
I mean, what about doing random inspections where you go to the referee, you put all the numbers in a hat, boat numbers in a hat, and then you pull 5 numbers out of the hat in front of the referee, and the referee signs off on it, and you go test them. So there can be no one saying, "Oh, you're picking on me," because people will cry about that.
I say you just keep going to the winner, man. That's what they did in HRL.
Let us pick them.
You don't like it, don't win.
Oh, yeah, make me the inspection committee. I will figure this shit out.
Yeah.
So does the IRC own a Whistler or a PNG to do that kind of stuff without full teardowns at least?
We do, but obviously they're not at every race.
Right.
If every region had one, if we had Bobby, I think that's a great idea, Bobby. You should get in charge of this. We need probably a handsomely paid inspector to be at every event. So you figure out how we can do that, and I'm all for it.
All right. I'll make a phone call.
Yeah, that's
I could probably figure out 2 inspectors for the East Coast, but you're on your own with the West Coast.
Right. So I'm making
Jim's out there anyway. Jim will take care of it. Well,
speaking of Jim, he's not reluctant because we're on the same page, but I am making him be the mandatory inspector at all the title events.
Okay.
He's the head inspector in APBA, and I think that he should be at the title events, tearing these things down. I don't want any questions,
So, yeah,
I like that.
No, Jim's very thorough. Jim is good at inspecting. That's 100%.
Will the inspection procedure for title events still be the same, where it's like one class gets the level 2 and then the rest of the level 1?
So that's for divisionals, and then the nationals, it's everybody.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about that changing. I don't think we would. And then to your point, Brandon, I know there's even some talk about some scopes, inexpensive scopes, where you could see some of the stuff in 5-liter heads. Apparently it's not foolproof, right? But there is talk about what can we do without tearing these things apart,
Right. That's the thing, that the info I've got on the 5-liter is it's so hard to tell unless if Dart has had different heads and stuff like that. So that's where, yes, they got out of control. I'm not back in HRL on that, but you got to have a hard rule on that area, whether they went too far with that hard rule from what I'm understanding. But if you compare 2 heads side by side, most inspectors might not know.
Right.
I seen a pair of heads picture on Facebook the other day that didn't look legal.
Yeah. So that's another thing, right? I mean, we have pictures and some videos and some different things of different engines and classes. Well, that information's got to get to the inspectors, right? Because if they don't know what to look for, they might not find it, right? We certainly know what to look for in the 350s. We certainly know what to look for in the Hondas. Well, basically, it's the computer, but we know a lot of this. We're going to continue to get better with it, but yep, we just want. I'm a firm believer in the future of this sport. We have to remain fair and competitive. We can't just survive on I don't want to call them backyard events, but we can't just survive and racing locally. So we've got to come together. We have to have all of our events be as good as they can. They have to be fair, and we've got to make sure that we have competition in every class, because competition brings everything.
Right. And I mean, to stay on that point of inspection, just one more topic is as we get to the future of these ECUs, I think that to me is what was so great about the Honda in the locked ECU. You can go in there, do whatever you want, port, polish, do whatever. If you can't add the fuel to it, you're not going to go any faster. And now, if someone comes out and say the Lambda is supposed to be like 0.86, if their shit's 0.99, okay, what are they doing? Let me go look. And I think there's a way to do that, even if the LS is an open tune, to know the fuel numbers. Like there's pressure and you can calculate flow. If this guy's flowing a shit ton more fuel to his motor, something's going on. It gives you that easy inspectable just to raise a red flag. Where with a carburetor, I mean, there's so much you could do to those trick. I mean, only an expert knows half the gray areas with them things.
There's precedent in what you're saying, right? So, I mean, obviously the Unlimiteds did this. They did it for different reasons at the time. I mean, they're blowing these things to bits, right? But limiting the fuel, right? So you can probably go ahead and try to cheat all you want in those engines. It don't matter. You can't pump more fuel through it. They're all efficient. I mean, I'm not out of line speaking that like every engine that the Strong Racing has, they're all almost identical. They're all so close. Mm-hmm. Like it almost doesn't make a difference. So, you can spend time and money and perfect things, but it's like you said, you want to do all that, it's pretty much a waste of time, because if you can't deliver more fuel, you're not making more power.
Which is why ECU is awesome. So, all right. So we were on this engine thing for a while. What about any other rule proposals? I know there was one in there about seats with the skiffs.
Yeah. There's stuff about seats and the roll cages for the skiffs. They're in the technical committee, and they're going over stuff. It's a typical skiff thing, I think. You're getting about half and half. Half the people say one. No matter what I've ever done, I was pretty heavily involved with the skiffs 20 years ago, and now a little out of the game recently, but it's always been the same. That class, it's usually divided 50-50. Even the people you like and the rules you want changed, right? The external rudders, everything throughout that history. It's just kind of been, it's this or that. So it's a lot of this for, the proposal's brought in good faith for safety, but there seems to be the other side of it too, where, we start doing this and it makes this more difficult, and that's, yeah.
Throughout the years, I've rode and been in a lot of skiffs, and it is, I wouldn't say scary, but it baffles me on how many skiffs have, my dad pointed this out, but how many skiffs have seatbelts mounted in the wrong spot?
Too high.
I've been in a lot of skiffs where it doesn't matter how tight you get them. When you start going in the turn, the seatbelts start sliding off because they're mounted wrong. I mean, so I don't think it matters what seat you're running. If your seatbelts aren't mounted correctly, it doesn't matter if you have cinder blocks in there holding your butt in. You're still going to fail because the belts need to be in the correct spot. And I think a lot of skiff owners and cage builders are overlooking where they're mounting their safety belts.
Yeah, it's a good thing you say that, right? I know Dave Shaw puts a lot of emphasis on talking about a lot of that, and I know your best friend Jeff Bernard says a lot about it, but he walks around and he says multiple things. He's like, seatbelts are fine. He goes, but 90% of them are installed incorrectly. And he knows a lot about it, being on the safety committee and everything else. There's a lot of different situations for different boats. He also, he's also brought up a thing about the helmets. Have you guys, Brandon, did you just post something about a helmet? You had helmet questions?
Yeah, I had to switch because of MSA getting disallowed. I switched to a Stilo and it was okay. But now the GP and especially the Unlimited, there's so much padding in the cheek that I can feel like the mask slipping off my face. And so every straightaway, I'm straightening it out. So I'm trying to find a better option.
Right. I know. So they have a different safety committee. Seckler's been running it. He's not this year. I think I was on it, and then Jeff Bernard was on it too for inboard. But I don't believe we are on it at all this year. But he's also talking about the new helmets. I think Jeff just got a new helmet. And he's like, the thing's just huge. He's like, they just keep getting like bigger. And he goes, you can forget, now we have head clearance problems in boats. Mm-hmm. Apparently there's some helmet issues coming up pretty fast. We got to find some.
The best seal I ever had on a mask where it wouldn't move around is the helmets that APBA outlawed.
That's kind of the we had the debate last year too.
They're allowed in Unlimited.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it was presented as the cockpit being the difference. But again, it's kind of, I think I know the answer to this. I mean, I don't know. You want head protection, right? But I think the mask is more important.
Right. And I'm probably the only person that broke a helmet. I broke the MSA when the capsule failed. But if the capsule doesn't fail, my helmet's been through many accidents and it's fine. It all comes down to it's more than just a helmet. It's cockpit safety. Look at how many people have almost got knocked out in the Steeler or the Wild one because they had no head support. So then their head just, bam, hits the cockpit. I mean, Kent, Tommy, Andrew, like they've all hit their head. So you eliminate that. And now the helmet's not as important as, like you said, mask seal to me is the most important. I want to know that thing's going to be there when I go upside down.
Yeah. I mean, the safety cells and the cockpits, I mean, they have saved a lot of lives. There's no doubt about it. So I'm on your side. The bigger problem to me would be the mask. And apparently these masks are almost dangerous in some of these helmets.
Yeah, I heavily modified the Stilo, and I think the boys is that way too. Instead of having the bayonets on the outside, I modified them and modified the cheek pads to put them on the inside as close to my cheeks as I could. And I think just the foam is starting to get a little softer. I mean, this thing's only 2 years old and it moves. And if I'm feeling that in a normal heat race and I'm constantly adjusting my mask, and I know Bob has the same problem because I was watching him do it in the rear facing camera all the time. It's just, it's not going to be there when you go upside down. So now your whole training procedure is different. Like you're blowing over, you're like, shit, I ain't going to have no air. What am I going to do now?
Yeah. So the problem with the helmets, they come too far forward these days. Like the MSA helmet was back. So when you tighten your mask, it would pull the mask back. Now with my Stilo, when I put the bayonets in, it's pulling the straps straight out and then not back. So it doesn't really, so it's like kind of like bouncing around and you don't get a good seal. And it's an issue. I don't know. Is there a crossroads where we say we need to start finding helmets and allowing certain manufacturer helmets in that allow a good seal? I mean, and face it, not everyone's face is the same, but 90% of the helmets out there that we're running, like the Bell helmets, they are way too thick. They're way too far forward. So is the Stilos. And these are supposed to be the best approved helmets that we can run, but it's not allowing our masks to seal.
Right. I know and some of these rules come from, APBA safety. And so there's a lot to go off. And you even get into thing, well, you do all this. Well, how can you allow facial hair? Because that's not supposed to be allowed with a mask. So it kind of doesn't end. So it's kind of always a debate. But if they're going to make these helmets bigger, we have a new set of problems.
Yep. I did hear from someone that Tiger's talking about developing a new helmet that will be Snell rated and all that. So, but I don't know what the pipeline is for that or how much time or anything like that.
Can't wait to see how much that costs.
Yeah, I would pay for it. I would pay
I'll
for
pay.
it.
I'll pay for it,
Like,
but I just
it's-
can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, all they have to do is reach out to MSA, be like, "Hey, can you get this thing Snell approved?"
Right.
Has
That
there
would be
ever
nice.
been any data or research done on like the safety differences between open face and closed? Is there any real differences there, at least in our application, or not
I
really?
think there's been a ton, but I wouldn't be the person to speak on it.
If you want that 2-hour long conversation, call Bob Wortinger.
Yeah,
everything.
there's a
need to
guy
know
that
about
knows.
helmet.
Good
I
old
want to
Bob, he
say,
knows.
I want to say Mike Weber knows a lot about it. Too.
Does it lean towards
I've
the
heard him
closed face or better?
I don't know.
I don't remember the research being. I fought big time on the MSA helmet, so that's what all my arguments were about. I don't know about the close. The close, again, you open up, just like I said, anything has another effect. Closed face is good in a, say, Henderson, or where the lid's going to come off. Your mask is less susceptible to be ripped off. But also, if your mask is off, rescue has a harder time getting to your
to
mouth.
it. Yeah,
because now the helmet's in the way. So it's like there's good and bad to everything.
I gotcha.
yeah, yep.
So way off topic, Brandon. I see a lot of work going on your unlimited there. Are you chipping in at all? Or are you just sitting comfortable
Yeah.
in your home?
I produce the content. I'm trying to get some sponsors. I'm doing my part. I'll go out there at least once. I didn't get an unlimited ride to work on the thing. I got it to be an arrive and drive. And Andrew, that's what I wanted to do.
I can't hate on him
I
because he's
aspire
doing
to
all the
be
work on
Andrew.
my 2.5 while I make content.
I see Trey out there working all the time, man. Maybe you need some help, Brandon.
Scraping and sanding. Scraping and sanding.
Those things are so big. They're so big, man.
Yeah.
Everything about it.
Yeah, when I saw the paint's off and it's all sanded and now the bottom's getting painted this week, I'm like, damn, that's pretty impressive. I know how long it takes on a GP, but
Brandon's like, all the sanding's done. Okay, I can go out there and help now.
yeah, I'm out
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as the paint's done, I'll be there. Let me make sure my
you
seat
sand
still
on that
fits.
thing for weeks. I know. It's huge.
So do you have are you meeting your goals that you have for the IRC to accomplish, not just at the national meeting, but for boat racing as a whole? Are you getting where you want to be?
I think so. Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard, it's hard changing things regardless. And then when you try to change and do things for all of inboard, it becomes way harder. It's easy to make changes per class, per race site, right? That's easy. Trying to figure out what fits for the whole country, it takes more time and effort, and sometimes it's a lot slower than what people want. I think the only thing, the other thing I say is, like, people say all the time, to make a change, well, we got to do something. Well, I agree, we should always be doing something, but that's just not good enough. What is it that we have to do, right? So it's like you can do a lot of harm without things being thought through. Any big setbacks at this point, I think, would be pretty catastrophic. So we try to be careful with everything that we work for, because one big mistake can erase years of good things.
I agree. So how do we shrink the IRC?
That's another one too. I mean, I think you could do more with the smaller group, but if again a 2-year term's not enough. If you did that, you'd have to have the same group. You'd have to give them some time. So it could get awfully tricky. You get, like I said, you go backwards in one group, and there ain't anything you can do about it. There might not be anything left. So you'd be putting a lot of trust in one small group of people. I think that's the hard part. I don't know if we're there. Everyone's still so much division in our own division.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, maybe if you did shrink the IRC and then you did make the terms longer, there would have to be something in there that if it gets bad or out of hand, that the membership can remove you. I mean, because it is a membership driven organization.
I think if you look at most larger racing organizations, and I say larger because I think that's the key word, they have more resources and they're able to operate in different manners, but they generally don't have term limits. They have procedures in which they can be removed. And it takes in most cases, if I understand correctly, it takes pretty extensive unity or whatever the word would be, 2/3 vote or whatever the case is among the voting body. To actually go through with it, similar to presidential impeachment, something along those lines, where it's very hard to disrupt the continuity, but if the issue is so widespread, it can be done.
Yeah.
Or at least the voting body has enough unity on it to do so.
No, right. Yeah, as long as there's
do away with term limits, and I vote Timmy Collins in. Let's go.
If I didn't get elected, or
we're gonna find out in 3 weeks if we're voting his ass back.
I don't know. I think you guys will probably be done with me in January 29th. But if I wasn't reelected, or if I didn't want to do it again, I would have probably proposed some type of revamp for the IRC. But now coming from me looks a little suspicious.
Oh no, I think
it'll be on your table.
I think 75% of inboard members do think that the IRC, there's too many people, and you got too many opinions when you get too many people, and to get something done, it takes 10 times longer.
It's the running joke. I remember the last times I was in IRC meetings at conventions was probably when I was 16, 17, sitting there, and new person come in, they'd be like, all right, so this is my 5-year plan. Well, you're going to be going in too. So how are you creating a 5-year plan?
That's the biggest thing. Like I think that I think I could come up with a good 5-year plan, but even the last time, there's been so many rules get flip-flopped. It was we fought hard, and we listened to a lot of the members. One in particular about our Hall of Champions. I know that I fought hard and got it raised.
I'm not laughing at you.
I wanted to make it more difficult for the Hall of Champions, right? Because you sit at those national meetings. Even the outboarders, everyone else says your Hall of Champions means so much more than ours. You really have to do a lot more, and then so we changed the rules to make it as hard as it could be, and then the next year it got changed back. So it's like,
I liked it.
You can have a plan, but
I think next to get Hall of Champions, you have to win one race, get out, and then smile to the crowd, and you're in Hall of Champions.
Hey, that's what Andrew did. Calm down.
So it is a prestigious thing, and so I thought it should be difficult. And the tricky part was that you sit there and there's 47 outboarders that get elected into the Hall of Champions, and then inboard might have 0. That I was fine with that, right? If nobody met the criteria, nobody earned it. I was fine with it. Some people weren't fine with that. And then, if we get 3 spots, we need to use all 3. That's a difference of opinions. I wanted to raise the bar, and if one person got in and we had 3 slots, so be it. But we did it for a year, and then it got walked back as soon as the regime changed.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a 5-year plan. It's really hard to get a 5-year plan when you're in for 2.
I know this is probably an interesting question now that categories have kind of just disappeared from APBA, but prior to that, do most of them operate the same way, kind of the same leadership structure? In my opinion, a too large commission with a chair, and do they all kind of operate in that same manner?
I don't think any of them are as big as this one, but I truly think that we do more and handle more than anyone else. I could be wrong, but we really do listen to the members, and you're getting an average 25 rule proposals a year to go through it. I don't think any other category comes close to that stuff. So
I think you guys are, the main thing is you guys are running 2 different series at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I know the other ones don't seem to be as, one, I don't think Offshore was running 25 events. I don't think OPC was running 25.
Yeah. The inboard division it's different. There's a lot.
I was mainly asking because I was curious if there was any kind of top down, this is how APBA wanted it to be structured, or if it was more freedom of the categories to decide, how their structure is. Because I guess in my mind is like, if we do want to go about changing that, like, how would we even do that? Do we got to just go to APBA and hope they agree, or?
Yeah, so the APBA, some of it would have to be changed at that level, and then some of it would do ours. What they try to do is APBA would rather
we backdoor Timmy. We go right to the president, and then they email Timmy to tell him what we said.
That's perfect.
Brandon, why'd your mom?
They try to do. They try to set minimums, right? And then each category can make it harder. So they don't try to set real high standards on purpose, because then the categories can always make higher standards. So usually it's not too difficult to get stuff changed.
Yeah, I would just be curious to see as the years go on. I think the longer we continue with the current structure, the more it opens the people that are resistant to change to the need for it. I think it's one of those things that unless something drastically changes, like obviously I like what you guys are doing, but I think there's just so many things, like you said, the time it takes to get anything done, the fact that by the time you get to the end of all the things you want to accomplish, that you could get voted out before then.
Right.
I think a lot of things that we need to do in the sport are going to take more than 2 years.
Yeah, and I saw Debbie put in a comment there about reduce the number of chairman appointed commissioners. Well, I couldn't be more against that, right? So if having a leader without like-minded people, I think is pretty stupid. So if I have stuff that I want to do and I get elected from the membership, I'd like to be able to do them instead of get shot down, right? So I would think that the commissioner appointed spots are awfully important.
I would almost argue that you should basically mimic the size of the amount of the commissioner appointed and the amount of regional, whatever you would call it, the regional chairs. Again, that would inherently bring the size down. I think you still get representation in your areas, but not 17 or 16 or however many people it is.
I agree. The only way to do it is to get rid of 10 regions. I don't mean get rid of them, but for the IRC standard, you'd have to break it into 4 regions and 2 apiece or something, and then
you just split it down, split the country down the middle. You get 3 IRC members on the West Coast, 3 IRC members on the right, and then you're inboard chair.
I think everything you guys do is splitting the country, regardless of what it is.
Sounds like a pretty good idea. This is the first time I've ever heard of it.
It seems like no matter what it is. Well, you got these ECUs. Well, you should split the country. Half of them should run this. Half of them should run that. It seems.
Well, that's
so before
half the people.
Oh yeah, split. Half the country should wear flip flops, and the others should wear high heels. That's simple.
West Coast high heels, East Coast flip flops. So I do just want to say, we just did go off on a tangent about Hall of Champions. That is not directed anywhere towards any of the people who are getting inducted in this year. Congratulations to them. I do think it's bullshit that Unlimited gets in just because you win the championship. You don't really do anything special. But for the inboard racers, congratulations. That's, we're not hating on you guys. We're just hating on the system.
Yeah, and it's not bad. It's not as hard as I would want it to be.
Easier.
Yeah, no, but we want everything to be easy for here. We want
technically splitting the country started when Brandon was his rookie season one, because he did so much. But we have Robbie Dahlquist out here who did good too. Let's split East Coast and West Coast rookie of the year.
I know. And
so that's when it started. That's when it started.
I don't think most of the country knows how many rules were passed for or because of some Kennedy somewhere. I think there's quite a few of them. And hey, don't forget, you guys wanted 3 rookie of the years. And you guys are guilty. I'm going to call you out. You thought 2 was too much. Well, Kyle and Austin wanted 3. You guys wanted to have 3 of them.
Hey, I never asked for that shit. I never asked for that.
A few people did. I was like, I'm against 2 of them. I can't.
I'm sure Mom did, but no.
Yeah. It started with 2 because I done won the Nationals, the Worlds, and I kicked ass. And then that dude, I don't know what he did. It was a Y-boat thing, I guess, but easy money out there.
Well, everything's harder in a Y boat, so it should count as more. I
It
do
should
feel
count
that.
as
You,
more.
that one up for Timmy there.
If anybody can say everything's harder in this Y boat, it's me. I ain't made but maybe a lap in one.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. But no, we had good Hall of Champion. I think we only had 3 that qualified. So we got 3
Wow.
slots and we had 3 people. So I guess that works out. That wasn't too bad. But yep, it's all about the 1 liters. It's all about me. Whatever we can do.
I mean, I can't wait for these 1 liters to combine with 2.5 stocks and see a real race.
It would be fine if we get at least 1,500 foot turns and everything else. I think we'd be just fine. They're so different. Like I said, I think I could beat. We raced the same time as Eddie at Caesars Creek. Our times were identical, right? When Eddie was out there, so it would be obviously a really good race. He came out to Yelm on a 1 2/3. I think I'd be fine. I would never be able to win a heat from him on any HRL course, right? It just couldn't even compete. So they're just.
Well, I mean, my ultimate goal is to get 1 liter mods to switch over to Hondas. That's,
I know.
That's what I want.
I can see. We can read between the lines that you kind of just say all the time.
I just want one big happy class. One big happy class.
Y boat should be a West Coast class.
I'm thinking next year. I'm thinking next year. I think I'll have it somewhere or another. I think I'll have a 2.5 with a Honda in it. I thought it was going to happen this year, but it didn't.
Hell yeah!
It won't be my.
I think. I'm not saying that they need to, but I think the guys in the Y class, the Reed Melich, Sean Bowser, I think those guys would the racing would be so much more enjoyable for them. Just again, it's consistency in numbers. Those two, the 2.5 and the 350 class can pretty much any week say they got 6 to 8.
I mean, Sean doesn't have to keep getting beat by the same boat for 20 years.
Yeah, Sean needs.
It's been 3 different colors. It's been 3 different colors,
and it's still it's still the same boat.
Did Sean ever figure out his issue that he was having this year? I don't know if you ever chatted with him.
Yeah, Sean's issues are mostly Sean. I think we can all agree. But we have a lot of fun, man. I can't. I mean, I wouldn't want to race in another class just because of all the people. I love them. We have so much fun.
Yeah, there was that picture you guys all posted. The picture posted all you guys at Pontiac Lake next to the no alcohol sign with all the solo cups. I think that's pretty conducive of what the 1 liter class has been for the last.
Was that that might have been the same year. It might have been the same year I was standing with Chris Ritz and the DNR came up and made us dump all the beers out of the cooler, open them up and dump them out.
That's tough.
That was the only time Poppy has ever cried, was when he had to pour out his beer.
That's tough.
All right, boys. Anything to wrap up with Timmy before we let him go? I think we hit on all our points.
Yeah.
I think that's
Good luck at the national meeting. Hopefully it's painful and fast and you don't get too many people in there giving you a hard time. I know Kyle's going to be there.
Painless, not painful, but okay.
Hey, whatever.
That's what I meant. Kyle,
I thought that was.
Hopefully, I just get beaten. Yeah,
It's going to be there though, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'll see you down there. We're not trying to pass an engine rule this year, so it'll be easier on you than last year.
I promise
again,
be on speakerphone this time.
Yeah. We got to limit the profanity from the peanut gallery, and at least one representative in person. All right, so he's going to take a beating.
Kyle's got it, but we'll have him well prepped. Fireball.
And Brandon is not allowed on speakerphone during our meeting.
Got my point across.
One interruption.
What are you talking about? He's going to bring the laptop. We're going to be on Chasin Tails Live, and we'll be facing you guys with the laptop.
Yep. All righty. Well, thanks for having me. We'll talk after the meeting.
All right, bud. Well, we appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Timmy. Thank you.
Okay, man. Yep. Later.
I mean, to be honest, we're not lying, folks. We might go live on those days if it gets
Might as well
for sure.
Might as well.
I think most of the proposals this year are fairly non-polarizing. I think there's some that are so individual based that they just don't stand a chance. Not individual, but so narrow in scope that they don't stand a chance. And then most of them are, at least the ones that I saw, seem fairly cut and dry. I know there's a couple that will be debated, but I mean, nothing's going to be like the Honda from last year. I didn't see anything that would be comparable.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think they're ready to go to a one-day or one final weekend format.
No.
Doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it. I think what
you can lead a horse to water. You can lead a horse to water.
He has a fair point. I mean, the point about, and again, he might not have phrased it the way that made it easier to understand, because I didn't understand it at first until he reset it. But like, so yes, if you do a 7 weekends count towards your national points, it is in theory the same amount of days raced. However, if you DNF on a Saturday, realistically, you could have just dropped your Saturday in the end on the current format, whereas now you have to drop Saturday and Sunday that whole weekend. So it's I get what he's saying, because you can use one weekend to replace points from 2 weekends in the current format. You can't do that in that format.
Yeah, we talked about the point of like at the end of the year, like you guys didn't go to Lakeland. Like when did we get to this best 15 days thing? And like, if we go to a one-day, one final format, why don't we get rid of it? So what if the guy like Alex Mango wants to travel from the East Coast to the West Coast to win high points? Good for you.
I think it's an undeniable reality that if you're going to have 10 to 12 races, you're not going to get full participation. So you can't have it be a 12 race closed series. Like all points count. You can't. You just can't. Not, especially not on the East Coast.
You can't have both.
And then
you literally can't have both unless you split the country.
Exactly. And exactly. And even if you split the country and we're going to have 10 to 11 races on the East Coast, you're not going to get full participation everywhere. So then you have to limit it. But then there's the argument of, oh, well, then it's hurting the smaller races. Well, it's like we have to do one or the other. Like, you can't accommodate everything in both ways. So I think at some point the decision is going to need to be made. Are we going to pick 6 races or 8 races and say, that's it? Or are we gonna limit it but still have these other options? Because we've seen in other series where there's a race that's not part of the championship, but it's the best attended race all year because it's just an event that everybody loves. What's stopping that?
The event better, everybody shows up.
Everybody will.
I think we get too caught up in, if I drop this race, make up this race. How many racing organizations can you make up bad days of racing? Virtually none.
Well, it's because
NASCAR just went back to a 10 race championship instead of being a 1 or 2 race format. They went back to 10 races. But there's no drops in those 10 races.
Yeah, there's no drops. Be on your freaking game. Bring your shit. Make it run. Don't break down.
But Bob, that's what we just said, though. You can't run the amount of races. You have to cut races. Otherwise, you are diluting your championship to the 2 or 3 people that will travel.
No, I'm saying
that, but like you think of sprint car racing, and they run like 100 nights a year. Granted, most of them are like fully funded teams, and
that's what I'm saying. We're not.
What I'm saying is, who cares if you have to go run a full weekend to get points? It's participation in another race that could probably really use that participation across every race.
You're totally right in that regard, but the argument will be some people can't afford to go to 7. Some people can't.
Or you could be like Jim Scheckler. As soon as you have your perfect 15 days, which he would have early in the season, he wouldn't go to any place like Wildwood and who always struggle to get.
We just did that this year with Lakeland.
Yeah, but he's like, I got my points. I don't need to go.
Yeah, that's why the problem resides in the fact that we have a series that is one size. There's this amount of races, and the amount that count for points is this amount. You either have to reduce the number of races and have them all count, or you have to have them all count at the amount that there are. That's the only way.
So
otherwise, you're going to have one of the arguments present.
So how many races do we have on the East Coast this year?
10 or 11 this year. I can look. Hold on.
So to me, they all could count. I don't think that's too big of a schedule.
I don't think it's too big. Again, you're going to dilute the championship down now, but I think that's a right now problem. If we then also accept that our goal is to grow this, hopefully we can do it to where new people coming in or even current people in are now making a decision to go to more races. Like there is no magic fix that solves the participation problem and the schedule problem and this problem and the marketing problem.
Diluted races. I mean,
exactly.
You look at everything.
We got to start somewhere and build. And I think the reality is we can't start only on the marketing side. I think there's things we can still do. I think there's things APBA, for example, could do more marketing, even HRL. But I think they're doing stuff. There's just more that can be done, like always. But to what end? Like, we need more money in order for us to make people go to more races. We have to find a way to bring more money in without more races right now.
Yeah,
I agree.
And more boats.
Well,
hold on. I'm looking at this race
funnel that
schedule.
money into those races that we say are premier races. And then the other ones dwindle on their own. Problem solves itself.
I have 12 East Coast races if you don't count any HRL. So just APBA, 12 East Coast.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's a terrible schedule. I wouldn't like it. I think 6.
I didn't include Madison either.
But that's like the box you put. Who is going to race for high points? Doesn't matter if you have drops or not. They're going to go to all the events. If you don't have drops, it doesn't really change anything, because he who's running at the drops is the most competitive boat, and probably no one can touch him anyway.
Yeah, the only way you have like an Al Thompson, a 92, a boat that, I'm not trying to curse Al, but like, I don't know when the last time they've had a DNF like that. It's been like perfect points for 3 years in APBA at the races they've gone to. He's one that could go to those 6 and be like, "Boop,
I'm done. Yep.
We're done." But most of the boats you're looking at now that go to that kind of that threshold, that 6 to 8 threshold, there's points to be had left on the table.
I like being able to award travel. The guy who travels to the most races, attends everything he can attend, award them something that they're not winning elsewise. Because most likely, if they do that, 90% of the time, they're probably not the fastest boat. They haven't won a lot of races. Like, so you're giving them like, hey, thanks for supporting them events. I mean, Melowick would probably be the one that you would say that for this year. He went to every single event.
Yeah, didn't miss anything, man.
And unfortunately, he just got beat by people that could put a better 15 days together.
Yeah, and that's racing. That's how it goes.
We created a performance-based point system instead of a travel-based point system.
And I think the system right now is correct, but not for the current state of our sport. We don't have enough boats.
Right.
If we had enough boats and the costs were down and people could travel to more races, it would be great. And I'm sure it was at one point, but it's not.
I think we get...
Back in the day, they didn't have best 15 days.
Yeah, it was total. You just go, right?
You could hit, what, probably 10, 12 in Region 3 and 4 alone. So it was kind of like HRL was. Like, you didn't have to leave your region. And that's where Region 6 got their mantra, never leaving.
But I think at the same time, our country is way too big, and that's why you only get 1 or 2 boats going for high points in each class. And they don't even travel across the country. Maybe 1 or 2 will across throughout the season. But I think we get lost on how many. We start talking about, high points. We need to look at participation and what is better for the fans and what the racers would like, rather than the few people who go for high points. I think we get lost on the whole high points thing, and we just go back down that rabbit hole and we never come out of it. And we're always worried about the few boats that go for high points and not the 95% of the boats that don't go for high points.
I think the reality is there's a solution that you can have that creates sub-series, something that's more marketable, more participable. I know that's not a word.
Sounded good.
Yeah, which it made sense, which supports the same points format, except, if there's somebody that chooses they want to run for the national championship too, there you go. Go for it. I guess that's my idea with splitting the coast.
Was the best thing back in the
exactly.
day. That meant damn near I will say, maybe I say it because I didn't win HRL or GP at high points, but to me, the GP challenge meant more than those 2 high points. That's why we didn't push to run HRL races, because that's where all the fast boats were. That's where all the marketing was done. Yeah. Like, everyone showed up for those races. So
and I think
so you create that within APBA inboard, and
I do think if you split the coast this year, I don't know that the difference in participation in each individual series races changes much more than the trend that Timmy's seen the last couple of years. I think you probably see a continuation of that trend. I don't think you get 4 or 5 boats, or even 2 or 3 in each class that are like, hey, we're going to 3 more races now. But I think you get those races, the ability to better or more easily build something that in the future could bring more boats.
I agree with that.
Because right now, what do these races really have to try and sell, other than we're going to do it again next year?
Right. Well, we talked about this on like the GP side of things with GPA. In my opinion, it should be a split. at this point, because all we're doing is kind of just keep biting the hand that's feeding us. That the East Coast had a great series and then it broke up. And now you have the West Coast that's actually growing. But a new member that comes into that only sees 2 races, maybe 3 if Seattle comes. And then they have to travel to the East. That's a long way for a brand new team. Where if they had those 2 or 3 races plus a couple like Chelan, a regional race, makes it more enticing. You don't have to spend as much funds to run this series, and you start to grow it there. And now that person that's like, man, I want to go out to Madison. I want to go out to Valley Field because I just love the sport. I want to go race with them. Best boats are out there, or vice versa. We want to go out west because best boats are out there. Mile 2/3 fastest course. You do it for the love of the sport and for that particular event, not to chase this high points thing.
Did you just say you wanted to go a mile 2/3?
Yeah, I'm going. I heard they're talking about maybe doing one at Edgewood, so I'll get some practice. Not this
I think
year.
it'll be a circle, bro.
Hey!
I'm scared.
Just gather engine parts in a bin, and when you get to Edgewood, because if they're going to run a mile 2/3, just dump it out and say, "There it is. There's our engine." After we ran a mile 2/3.
That's it. I'm scared. That's what I was told. I'm scared.
I drank a whole 2 liters.
I see that. You kept refilling that thing. I'm like, good thing it ain't Fireball.
And one of these episodes, it might be.
So yeah,
Actually,
we got a lineup. I think we got to start scheduling some people. I got JP wants to come on pulling from Hydroplane Quebec days, HRL. I love to talk about how like he's supported this sport for so long.
But yeah,
he does a lot to make the gala happen. So maybe we'll kind of mix it in the next couple weeks.
Maybe he can start. Maybe if we have him on here, he'll start sharing some video content with us that we can post.
Yeah, we can post. Yeah, I did ask him. I said, hey, can you go through them archives and get like the Pontiac Lake footage and send to me? Because we're gonna start putting that on the Pontiac Lake page.
I'll get.
Nice. I got nothing. I got those like 6 videos on Vimeo, and that's it. Man.
So
maybe we can talk to Art Smith with the hydroplanequebec.com site.
Yeah, dude, if we can get access to that would be sweet.
I want to get Dave Vilwalk on.
Yeah, he's on the list.
I want to get Vilwalk on.
And then Gunnar O'Farrell is going to coming up. We got a lot of
Gunnar. Yep.
We got a lot of guests coming up. I talk about Larry Lauterbach. Got to get him on, but probably got to drive down there and set up a studio.
Man, well, he probably doesn't watch any of our episodes, so
probably not. But I guarantee if we have him on, we're back in business with vintage.
Yeah, it's a PR stunt.
It's a PR stunt.
100%. I won't get any more hate mail.
No, we got the legend on. Unless he disagrees with everything we say, then we're just gonna kick him off.
And people think I joke about that hate mail. I really got hate mail after bashing vintage. I mean,
yeah. I mean, that's the only reason we had to come up with that warning label.
I said what I said.
Hey, we might not always be correct.
Did you hear? This is blowing my mind. This is blowing my mind. That the vintage event in Madison wants to put on 2.5 stocks.
Yeah, it's like going backwards, right? Like we said, vintage at inboard events. Now we're gonna have inboard at vintage events. Hey, I don't know. It's probably up against another inboard race because why not?
Yeah,
I don't know when it is. Whatever, let them run.
Anyway, we are already running up on 2 hours.
Yeah,
here.
no,
we got to stop doing this. 2 hours.
We do. If you notice the trend, I feel like when that clock gets close to 10, we're like, all right, let's cut it off. We could be.
No, we find a way. Yeah.
We're like, yep, we're done. We're done, folks. Like Austin's usually asleep. So glad he's sleeping already.
The chat was lively tonight. I was kind of happy about that. And
yeah, 74 comments.
Did you see me bust that live?
Yeah, I saw which comment.
I was like, Timmy, it's not at you, bud. It's not at you.
Yeah.
I wanted to say simmer down.
Yeah, simmer down, buddy.
But I don't want that turned on me. So I'm not going to say anything.
Just not going to say. Just leave it in the chat. Just leave it in the chat. Oh, good times. But anyway, folks, that wraps up episode 74. Hope you learned something. Hope you teach us something someday, and we'll see you next week.
Later.